Hey, off-season After Dark friends, welcome back to episode 51, and we're here today to talk Memphis Tiger football, an episode I've wanted to do for a while and been excited about this team. Always one of the best G6 programs have been for a number of years, and certainly being a Marshall guy now, as many of you know, Charles Huff being their new head coach. So we're happy to have Christopher here today from Memphis Country. So, Christopher, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about where they can find you and engage with you on the different social media platforms, and what got you following Memphis? Are you an alum? Do you live there? What made you a fan?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me on. Excited to talk some
Absolutely.
football. Glad the great sport that we all love is finally coming back here soon.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
yeah, basically what got me into Memphis was the basketball program. I think most people would probably say that. Probably a top 25-ish, 30-ish basketball school all time. So
Mhm.
the city loves to rally around basketball. But as of late, become more of a football school, honestly. Basketball has been disappointing us year in and year out, and
Mhm.
everyone's been getting super excited for football season every year. We've had some exciting players over the years, exciting coaches, Mike Norvell, Justin Fuente. Um, just in my lifetime, I'm only 21 years old.
Okay.
It's been Memphis football that's given me more joy. So I mean that's surprising to say because Memphis football was a laughingstock for a long time within the city. But yeah, that's basically what got me into Memphis was just being born and raised there. Not based
Okay.
there now, but I love the city, love everything about it. You can find me at Memphis Country on both X and Instagram,
Awesome.
and I also have a
Yeah, I'll
college
take
basketball.
I'll take that and all that when I put this out. I'll take that account and everything so everybody can give it an easy click and follow.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Yep.
Mhm. No, good story though. Yeah, that's kind of a lot. I always enjoy hearing people's origin story, so to speak, and how they get, because I don't hear a lot of. I started following them for the basketball and then got into football, but it's
Hmm.
always interesting to hear how different people got into different fan bases. So that's great. But yeah, you had brought up a good point about it. It's been a good last decade for Memphis football. They've had a number of good head coaches, even going back, Justin Fuente, Mike Norvell, now Silverfield, of course. But we always, one of the things I like talking about here are when we have coaching changes. So let's rehash, the end of last season. So Ryan Silverfield, 6 successful seasons there after being an assistant coach there for multiple years. Of course, an NFL background with the Lions before that, but took over a good program from Mike Norvell. Never had a losing record, won 8 games a few times, and then had the 10 and 11 win seasons. So, wasn't shocking that he got a P4 shot, especially in a program relatively, nearby regionally. So, I think it was around Thanksgiving time, the week after that, end of the regular season when he left for Arkansas. I'm going to ask a two-parter here. Were you guys surprised that he left? And when that happened, what were your thoughts on looking for a new head coach? Who were some of the guys? So, first part, were you surprised when Ryan Silverfield took a different job?
Yes, I would say the entire city fan base was utterly shocked whenever Silverfield was able to upgrade to a job in the SEC.
Okay.
Because we believe that he was in a way almost kind of not failing us, but he wasn't necessarily bringing the same success that we got used to under Norvell and
Yeah.
Fuente. Both of those guys won conference championships, played in multiple conference championships, and Silverfield, as many wins as he got, and we do appreciate some of the P4 wins he got over like Mississippi State, Arkansas, and
Yeah.
stuff. Those were enjoyable, but for the most part, we were all pretty surprised that he was able to upgrade to a new job, considering he never finished higher than third in the American,
Yeah.
um, and he never led us to a conference championship game. So we
Yeah.
just assumed we didn't really
And
think
I,
he was going to go anywhere.
and I've been, from the Arkansas standpoint of things, I've been kind of critical of that hire. From their point of view, I didn't love it for similar reasons you said. Like he took over a great program, and if you just look at the numbers, his record was good, but he didn't elevate the program by any means. I mean, Mike Norvell won 12 games, I think, his last year. Silverfield never got that many wins in a season. So it's not like I don't know if I want to say they regress, because that certainly a couple of the seasons they did from Norvell, like he wasn't awful by any means, but they didn't take that next step up, which you would expect from a guy who gets an SEC or Big Ten job, that you took that program to the next level. And also, from the Arkansas standpoint, it feels like he wasn't the first choice. We had the reports that Alex Golish was going to be the guy, and we knew they were looking, and then it popped that he was the guy. So hard to believe he was their first choice either.
Yeah, so, I highly doubt that. I've also heard that they thought they had Golish in the bag for a minute, and then it's just the domino effect of things. I think, in my opinion, like Kiffin leaving Ole Miss, going to LSU, that takes the LSU job away from Summerall, which leads him to Florida, and then that leads Golish to Auburn, which leaves them with, I guess, Ryan Silverfield. I mean, I don't know how much Kentucky's paying Will Stein, but I don't know why he's not the Arkansas head coach right now, because I'm pretty sure the Arkansas coach makes more than the Kentucky coach. So I thought
he's a Kentucky native.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay.
I also wonder from his perspective, Kentucky's probably less pressure as a head coach, and maybe you see it as a quicker path to winning, because I think Arkansas is a ways away from being.
Well, yeah, I mean, Arkansas has the history of a program that needs more backing than it gets. I mean, they've almost fallen into this thing where we fell into this when John Calipari was in Memphis, which is a lot of the reason why we're not in a power conference anymore. Is John Calipari ran our athletic department for so long, so we didn't invest much money into football until way too late. Okay. So I see that happening at Arkansas right now. I mean, they're giving a lot of money to that basketball program whenever they need to invest in football more. I mean, I wouldn't invest in. I mean, I would believe it, or I would want to see it before I invest in Ryan Silverfield for sure. But
that's a good point.
I mean, they're just to round back around, we were super surprised, and honestly, we were getting kind of sick of Silverfield. I would say he wasn't anywhere near being fired or anything. That would be crazy to say. The Memphis administration obviously thinks differently than the fans, because he wasn't. He had a flow every year, and he had just won 10, 11 games back-to-back years. But I would say it was getting uneasy in Memphis for sure. People were getting tired of it. So I think it was a good parting of ways for both sides, especially considering the hire we were able to make after with Charles Huff. We're all just elated about Charles Huff. Every time he steps behind the podium, he's a quote. And we think he's brought in some really good talent this year. We've seen what he's done at Marshall, winning that conference title, and then taking it all over to Southern Miss, a program that is just a complete bottom dweller in their conference.
Absolutely. At Marshall, I was sad to see him go. Obviously won the first Sun Belt title in program history, and they'd been down, but he was consistent. Went to a bowl game every year. Unfortunately, him and the athletic director couldn't get along and come to an agreement, and he went to Southern Miss, which was one of the worst FBS programs in the country, 1-11, and then they went to a bowl game his first year there. That doesn't happen by accident.
Nope.
You don't do that 2 years in a row at two different schools. Former Nick Saban assistant. There's a lot to like in him.
Absolutely, yeah. We're all super excited. I just love the way he speaks. I know he hasn't won a game yet for us, so we haven't seen it on the field yet, obviously, but we already feel like we upgraded. It's way too early to say that, obviously, way too early to say that, but we already feel like we made an upgrade at the head coaching position, which is exciting.
To me, it feels like one of those, like just looking at his career trajectory, I think you'll get a couple really good years out of him. Then he gets a Big Ten or SEC head job. I think that's what his career trajectory. Which you'll be better off for, because you're going to win double-digit games with him probably.
Yeah, and we need that. We're making a push to try and get into the ACC, Big 12, something like that. Come 2028, 2030.
Yeah, I mean, you guys and South Florida seem like kind of the obvious next gets for those conferences. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely the cream of the crop there.
yeah,
There's a lot's going to go down in the next 4 or 5 years, so we're excited
yeah,
to see where that
yeah,
goes.
yeah. I think so. Yeah. So when Silverfield left and you were in that phase of looking for a new head coach, other than Huff, what names were prominent? Were there any, any guys that stood out to you, anyone else you liked, or was he the guy from minute one that you wanted as the next guy?
No, I would say I had a lot of thoughts about Jerry Mack at Kennesaw
Oh yeah,
State, and what he did to turn
tough
around
not
that
to. They were
program.
they were another one-win team that won the conference under him. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And he has some ties to Memphis. I think he's from Memphis, actually. I'm not totally sure. I know he coached at Memphis for a while.
yeah,
So I thought Jerry Mack. I know they took a good look at Jerry Mack. A lot of our fans wanted us to try and go get like. Oh, I know we interviewed Blake Baker, the DC at
yes,
LSU. Um,
LSU. Yep,
we tried to get him. He was always kind of a long shot. He's probably a shoe in for a good P5 job here soon. So,
and he's
um,
probably making more money as a coordinator there than he would have as a G6 head coach too.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I would say so. Probably a good amount more, honestly, especially at a place like
yeah.
LSU. I'm sure
Because I
Kiffin threw
think
him a bag.
I think he's one of the 3 or 4 coordinators in the country that's $2 million a year.
Yeah, yeah, and I
So
think
yeah,
Huff's in the 1.5, something like that range, 1.2. So, yeah, you would be
and
right
that's
there.
three. So and that's 3 times what he was making 2 years ago at Marshall. So or almost. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
no. And then a lot of our fan base thought that maybe we could go try and poach Dan Mullen from UNLV. I thought that was stupid from the jump. He would have had better resources here, made more money, all that stuff, but I just couldn't see him leaving the situation he was in there. He already had built success there.
I
And
think so. Yeah,
he's probably he's probably a year away from another good job too, also, if I had to guess.
yeah.
So
It's interesting because I know I was looking. I always do a deep dive into the roster and schedule, and you guys play them week 1, and I knew
week
Mullen had
0.
been mentioned, or was it? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and then this coming week on what day is it? Um, Wednesday morning. Well, we'll record Tuesday, but Wednesday morning, I'm having a guy that does a UNLV podcast on the show here.
Really?
So
Okay.
we'll get to
That's
talk
cool.
about and yeah, that'll be a good time. So talk, with both sides about that game.
Yeah, I'll have to tune into
Yeah,
that one. I want to see what he has to say about
yeah. But
that.
yeah, when that Huff hire was made though, like it was one of those right when I heard the grumblings, it was like that would make a lot of sense, both from your guys' standpoint, you're getting a proven winner who hopefully can get you over that hump that Silverfield never could of getting in the conference title game. And for him, it's a better job on that path to an elite Power 4 job. Like for me, it was for all parties, it just seemed like it was logical. And as good as he had Southern Miss last year, there were a lot of 5th and 6th year guys. There was going to be roster regression there. So it made sense to jump. And it's always kind of questionable sometimes when you jump after 1 year. In that case, I'm like, it makes some sense. So
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you have everything
yeah,
you need to win at this level at Memphis, if not more. I mean, the
yeah,
funding at Memphis is next to none. And yeah, I mean, it's just the facilities, the funding. I mean, they're all in on football. They just completed a $250 million stadium renovation. So
okay. I
it's
didn't
we're
know
all
that.
in over
Yeah,
here. Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's one of our brother stations, Biscuits and SEC, that I do our group show with Thursday. They always talk about the facility upgrades and how that's going for every team they talk about. So that's it's an important aspect of it, especially in the NIL world and trying to get both recruits and fans to support you and boosters.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. I mean, I
important.
know we
So
built an indoor facility 7 or 8 years ago.
okay,
Upgraded everything involving football pretty much over the last 7 or 8 years, and making the push obviously for the power leagues.
awesome. Yeah. So once Huff was hired, I there were both of his coordinators I like. So Kevin Decker was a guy who, in looking at Old Dominion the last couple of years, he was their offensive coordinator. Some of their look for them, they were elite at a few different things. So I think you got a really good coordinator hire in Kevin Decker, and a guy who will probably be an FCS or G6 head coach within a few years. Younger guy, coordinator, been very good at involving QBs in the run game. And Ricky Ronnie, and I know some guys that coached with him, and they've said a lot of good things about Decker as O coordinator. And then at D coordinator, Lance Guidry's been, FCS head coach, coached at Miami, Ohio, Western Kentucky, was here at Marshall the year before I got here. So he did coach with Huff at Marshall, then was at Miami, Florida, and LSU in recent times. So you're certainly getting a D coordinator with a lot of experience. So
yeah, absolutely. I was very pleased with the hire of Decker from Old Dominion.
Yeah.
Just looking at the stats,
he was very good with Colton Joseph. He did a good job there.
Yep. Just looking at. Go ahead.
I was saying with Guidry, you'll get a guy who very adept at recruiting Louisiana, Mississippi, East Texas, which could be a very fertile recruiter ground for you guys. So go back to Decker. What were you saying about Decker before I cut you off?
Well, with Decker, it was just some of the seasons that he had at Old Dominion, seeing some of the stats that came out of that. I think they had like some top 15, top 20 offenses. So doing that at Old Dominion was obviously impressive to me. And he's just a sharp guy. Watching these media availabilities over the last few days, he just gives me he's got aura per se. If you want to put it like that, he just gives off an aura of a guy that could be like definitely a future head coach. And then with Guidry, I didn't know much about Guidry other than the fact that I think he failed pretty badly with the job at Miami. I don't know if that was all on him, but their defense that year with Cam Ward, I mean, their defense was the reason that they were not able to do anything or make the playoff. So that's really all I knew about him, but I took a deeper dive, looked a little bit further back, saw that he was with Huff at Marshall. They had a really good defense. So I'm pleased with both hires. I like both of them on the podium, at least at the media availabilities and stuff. I think they both are very, very sharp. And Guidry's a funny guy for sure.
Yeah. And I'm kind of the opposite of you. From my background, I knew a lot more about Guidry than I did about Decker. So So both those good. Now let's get into the roster bit, which I do every episode. The QB battle. Is it looking like it's going to be Aaron Noland or Marcus Stokes? Of course, me being a Gamecock alumni, Aaron Noland was with the Gamecocks last year after spending his first year at Ohio State, and Marcus Stokes, D2 West Florida, though he had been a top recruit before some unfortunate decisions were made before. But between those two, after spring ball, through this summer, I have almost no idea which of those two is going to be the guy.
Yeah, I don't think we do either, to be honest.
Okay.
It's pretty tight-lipped.
And that is not uncommon of Charles Huff in the summer and through spring. There were multiple years here at Marshall where we didn't know who the QB was going to be before the season started either.
Yeah, no, we don't expect to know until, I guess, a couple hours before the first game. Maybe not even until they take the field. We don't know. And there's no reason for us to know from a competitive standpoint. I would love to know. I wish I knew. But I think the first thought is that I think immediately what most of the fan base thinks, at least, is that it'll be Marcus Stokes, based off of his experience in D2. And just what he was able to do at that level. He basically just tore it up down there. He was a finalist for like the D2 Heisman. At West Florida last year. They won a lot of games. So I mean, that experience I think is valuable to a certain extent. I don't think he was necessarily playing great talent or anything. I don't think that's a hot take either. But no, I'm more
certainly not to the level. Yeah, relative to that level, he was playing good competition. nothing like he's going to be facing this year, though.
Yeah,
That's
no,
absolutely
no,
fair to
not
say.
even
Yeah.
close. But yeah, just more football reps, obviously, than Aaron Noland has had in the last, or sorry, more in-game reps than Aaron Noland has had in
Yeah.
the last, is it 2 or 3 years he's been in college now? I guess 2 years. He spent one at
Two,
Ohio State, one
one at
at
Ohio
South
State,
Carolina.
one at, yeah. It's
Um,
also one of those like more in-game reps, but also all of the practice reps Nolan was taking would have been against way better defenses.
Absolutely,
So
yeah, yeah, no.
there's a give and take there.
I take that into consideration as well. I'm higher on Aaron Noland than most of the fan base is. Most of the fan base just they don't believe in Nolan just simply because he hasn't played. But I try
Yeah.
to explain the fact that he was at Ohio State. He was never going to play at Ohio State his freshman
No.
year. That was never going to happen. And then he went to South Carolina, who had Lenore Sellers. I know he got hurt. In like the third or fourth game, and then
Third game against Vanderbilt. Yeah.
yeah, he got injured, and then I mean, I don't think. I guess South Carolina's backup wasn't very good, so it's kind of surprising to me that Nolan never even saw the field. But
As a Gamecock guy, I thought he would stay one more year, and then after Sellers went to the NFL, he would then be the guy for 2 years. But I guess he didn't want to be the backup for another year. So
it's that new portal era, man. Nobody wants
yeah,
to sit around and wait anymore.
exactly. Yeah,
But I mean, I'm just surprised that he even came here. That just takes a lot of confidence, already knowing that Marcus Stokes is committed here.
yeah,
And he was supposed to be the guy. I mean, obviously money talks, but he could have probably gone to most other AAC programs, Sun Belt, other programs
yeah.
like that, and started like immediately. I mean, it probably wouldn't have been much of a competition, but he came here, chose to come into a QB battle. It's going to be very competitive. We'll see who comes out on top. Most of the fan base thinks it'll be Stokes, but personally, I really do think it's 50-50. I know our OC, Kevin Decker, he has a lot of I guess him and Stokes go way back from what I've heard. He recruited Stokes for a long time at Old Dominion. So I
That
think
would make
Decker
sense.
probably
Yeah,
leans Stokes' way, but for some reason I feel like Huff is a Nolan guy. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see who ends up winning that battle. I'm excited either way. I think they're both super talented. I have my
yeah.
worries. I have my doubts. Like obviously when you're in a QB battle, sometimes you could have no good QBs. So, but
You
I think
never. Yeah,
the
it's
talent will
that's the.
prevail, and we'll
Yeah,
end up having a good product on the field for sure.
I think so. I mean, you have two talented guys with a proven head coach and a proven QB coach. So
Absolutely, yeah.
I feel like it's going to be okay. Um, Now let's move to the running back room, which is a very interesting room. Dallin Hayden, a guy who, another former Ohio State guy who was at Colorado last year, now with you guys at Memphis. I would think he'd be the lead guy, but then Jalen Carter is also on that roster, who transferred from Southern Miss, followed Huff, where he had a lot of success, especially pass catching. He had a lot of success last year. Those two have to be the top two, and then Manny Covey, I know, also is a guy who portaled in. But any insights, news around that running back room?
Yeah, I think Huff wants to play all three of those guys, for sure. I think all
Makes
three of them
sense.
will
Yeah.
play. Obviously, with your passing downs, I think you're gonna have Carter out there. He's a great pass catcher, like you said.
Yeah.
But I think Dallin Hayden and Carter are like a 1A 1B situation. I think they're both gonna get a ton of reps, and then you'll see a little bit of Covey sprinkled in. But I'm super impressed with Dallin Hayden. Obviously, me and him were in high school in the Memphis area around the same time, so he was a big
Okay.
deal. Went to Christian Brothers High School locally in Memphis. So him coming back home, coming back to play, I know he had a pretty solid year with Ohio State his freshman year. He transferred to Colorado, and he just didn't see the
Mhm.
field much at Colorado. It didn't seem like. That's kind of weird to me, but the kid's super talented, probably too talented for this level. So I think he'll tear it up, honestly. Dallin Hayden,
Okay.
100%. I expect him to be one of
Uh,
the
uh,
best backs in the
and
American.
And I think him and Carter complement each other very well too for the different styles they play. So one of those two is going to be adept in most situations. Excuse me.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
should be like I said, I think they'll both play well together. That receiving room looks pretty good too. So Terrell Timmons, another guy who came over from Colorado after being at NC State before that, another on his third college. And then Tyshawn Chapman, who was at Marshall with Huff, was at Southern Miss with Huff, and has been a good player at both schools. Chapman will likely be that slot guy. That's where he's played before. And then Brady Cluse returns for you guys. So the receiving room looks pretty good too.
Yeah, there's a lot of unknown, I would say, in the receiver room. I don't think we have
That's fair.
a slam dunk number one guy, at least from what we've seen so far. That's kind of our biggest question mark as fans. The OC Kevin Decker, he did allude to the fact that we just don't have a lot of guys that have played a lot of snaps the other day. So it's come game time, we're going to kind of learn a lot about these dudes, and it might be kind of a work in progress. But yeah, I mean, I think your most solid guys are definitely Tyshawn Chapman, like you said. He came over from, or was it Terrell Timmons or Chapman that came over from Southern Miss?
So Chapman was Southern Miss, and then Marshall
Chapman,
before that
okay.
with Huff. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Chapman comes over from Southern Miss. I know he had like 500 yards last year, 5 touchdowns. Caught a good amount of passes. He seems like a kind of a deep threat kind of guy. I think I saw his average yards per catch were like up there, like 18 or 19 yards per catch. So.
With him, that would make sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Certainly. He's going to be a small guy, probably 5'9", $175, $180. So he's definitely not a big guy, but going to be that slot and taking deep shots. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you mentioned Hunter Tipton from Middle Tennessee.
I did not. Nope. I did not mention him.
He's a tight end that transferred in with a ton of experience. I think he was all conference in the Conference USA last year at the tight end position. So I think he's going to be a big part of the passing attack for us, especially considering the offense Decker's trying to run super fast paced, trying to get the ball out quick. I think Hunter Tipton will be a big part of that. But overall, not much of our fan base knows much about these receivers. I'll say it's probably what I'm the least well versed on, just because there's not a single one of them that really jumps off the page yet. So I guess it's just kind of a we'll see kind of thing for us right now. But there is a lot of promise.
Unknown guys. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Alante Brown's another one. He's been at Michigan State and Nebraska in the past couple of years.
He's a speedster, right?
Yeah.
I want to say he can really run. But and then Brady Cluse, I forgot to
mention. Him and Cluse will be that outside that deep shot guy.
Yeah. Cluse has made some outstanding catches for us over the years. He's just been overshadowed by other very good receivers that we've had. So I'm excited to see him get a chance to shine. Hopefully. I don't think he's even a shoe-in to start. I think there's a competition going on out there, but I hope to see him get a shot because he's been very ultra solid for us over the last few years.
Nice. Okay. Then the O-line looks mostly new, which is nothing new. Most of the schools I've had on the show, it seems like everybody's replacing 3, 4, 5 O-line. We're not seeing many who are even returning the majority. You guys look to be in that mix of replacing 4 of the 5 O-linemen. Both tackles coming from Colorado schools. So with Carday Smith, who looks to be the left tackle, was another Colorado transfer. And then Aaron Karras at right tackle was at Colorado State. So, both big 6'5", 300-plus pound guys. And then at the guard spots, Parker Mitchell's the one who returns, and then Skylar Grant, it looks like, will be the other guard. He was with Decker at ODU, so following the coach there. And then at center, Kobe Keenum was in the depth chart I looked at, they listed him as the starter, transfer from He was at Kentucky and then Mississippi State, though I really can't say I know anything about him other than just what his bio listed. So O-line wise, what's the feeling around that? Other than replacing a lot of guys like everybody, but it looks like in terms of roster, recruit wise, guys you took in, they look pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard about the O-line, this is probably the position group that I know the least about for sure. But from what I have heard, it's just that they're huge. It's going to be a massive O-line. It's like for the G5 level, they're massive. I mean, like you said, we got some 6'5", 300-pounders in there. Overall, we're used to having a pretty small O-line, a crafty, small kind of O-line.
Okay.
I think most
Interesting.
G5
That's good to
schools are
know.
used to that.
Yeah.
Last year, that wasn't necessarily the case. We had some big guys on the O-line last year. With Silverfield he's an O-line guy. So if anything, if there's any Arkansas fans watching, he's going to have a good O-line no matter what. No matter where he goes, he's an O-line guy. So we had a lot of good offensive lines under Silverfield. But overall, yeah, we're used to having some small, scrappy guys on the O-line. So seeing all these 6'5", 300-pounders coming in, definitely very, very promising. For us, we got this guy from Old Dominion that I've been hearing a lot about, Martin Woodsma. He's from the Netherlands. I'm not exactly too sure how to pronounce his name.
Okay.
But he was.
I did see him as a backup.
He
was listed as. Okay, he was listed. Actually, the depth chart I had listed him as a backup right guard. So that's very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. They list. I mean, I know he's been listed on the preseason all-conference team. Whatever you buy into that, I don't know, but
no,
I've heard a lot about him.
That should mean something. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we expect the O-line to be solid under Huff. I think he's had pretty good O-lines over the years. So
he has. Yeah.
We do expect it to be pretty solid. We expect to be solid in the trenches on both sides of the ball, maybe better than we've ever been under Huff, because we know that D-line is going to be nasty next year.
That's a good transition to the D-line. This unit looks like it's probably the strength of the team. I mean, it's the defense on the whole is almost entirely new guys, but Jamon Tapp, Jamari Monette, Jaden McKinney all look like good players. Joseph had, an edge type guy. And then depth wise, it looks like there's 7-8 guys who are going to play on the D line. So it probably is the strength of that team, which is a good place to have a strength.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we are so not used to being able to get after the quarterback. Under Silverfield, we had some atrocious defensive lines, in my opinion. What D lines that never got after the quarterback, it seemed like. So, yeah, we're excited. I'm so excited about Jamon Tapp. I think he's probably the single best D lineman we may have had here in 5-6 years since Norvell was here probably. Yeah. So I'm super excited to see him. Jaden McKinney is an absolute dog on the edge. But, yeah, I'm super excited about the D line for
Tapp
sure.
Tapp is very good. I mean, Tapp.
Really the front seven. Yeah. In general, I think our linebackers look really, really nice as well. The front seven is going to be nasty. So I'm super, super excited. Just the defense as a whole, I think this might be one of the best defenses we've seen at Memphis, period, like ever. So I'm super excited about it because we're not. You probably know this over the years. If you pull up a Memphis score when Norvell, Fuente were here, it was 65-40. Like we are not playing defense over here. Yeah. Even under Silverfield, defenses were awful. So we're excited to see some defense out here for sure.
Awesome. No, that's that front seven does look very good, especially the D line, like not that the PFF ratings are everything, but it looked very good. And then we haven't talked about the D-backs yet, but Anthony Richard Jr. And Ellis, both good players. I mean, they're guys who would start for a lot of P4 teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chauncey Logan, also solid guy that came with Huff, I believe, from Southern Miss that we're excited about. And then Ian Foster might be the highlight of the
Chauncey
defense.
Logan was at JMU.
You're right, JMU. I was just doing my research today on that. You're right. He came. He had a few good years at JMU. I don't think he was as good last year. He might have got played over a little bit, but Chauncey Logan has been looking pretty good from what I've heard out of practice.
He got hurt. He only played about half the games last year. I think he got hurt.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. That makes more sense. Okay, yeah. But then you go to obviously the safeties solid as well. Ian Foster, he was garnering attention from the biggest programs this offseason. So Huff being able to get him to come along with him to Memphis was a big deal to us. Clemson, Oregon, I think we're in on him. Obviously, probably not as starters, but as a rotational safety. So, super excited about Ian Foster. His tape looks great. Seems like he's just a menace. So, definitely excited about that as well.
Good. And I was curious: are Ian Foster and Amir Foster related or not? Do we know the answer to that? I don't know.
I think I want to say Oh, that's tough. I feel like I've heard something along those lines about somebody on the team. Honestly I don't know for sure.
Okay.
But I think they are. I think they are related.
Fine. Okay.
Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah, I know Khalil. You know what? I think it's Khalil Foster is related to one of them, but I don't know which one. That might be.
I know. So what I do know is Ian Foster's brother is on the team. I just don't know which one.
That's probably Khalil then. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That I think that's it. Okay. But looking at now, going through the roster, now looking at the schedule, we already touched on that season opener at UNLV. That'll be a tough game. They're going to have another good season. I don't expect them to ever really drop off with Mullen being there. Then Arkansas State, in your second game, but technically week one. So what are you guys looking, in the first couple games? That's a tough schedule for any G6. That's a bear of a schedule with those two.
Electric next year with Jackson Arnold at quarterback. Yeah. I think from what I've seen of Jackson Arnold in the SEC, he wasn't any good, obviously, at Auburn. Couldn't throw the ball. But to me, he looks like a group of 5 legend, per se. Like, he is going to tear it up.
I agree. I think he's going to be very good in the G5.
Because it's totally different. Obviously, the reads, going through your progressions in a G5 level compared to the SEC is totally different. He'll be able to make the basic passes. He'll be able to tear up those secondaries. But as well with his legs, that dude is fast, super fast. So I worry about containing him, first off, in that UNLV game. You got to contain Jackson Arnold. Don't let him use his legs. If that gets out of hand, then things could get ugly. But I do believe that we have a lot of positional group advantages in that game. Like, just the fact that, Arnold loves to use his legs and we have a very solid front seven gives me a lot of promise in that game for sure. And then just the fact that a lot of their, final scores to me look like that a lot of their games are shootouts. It doesn't seem like they just play a super tough brand of football, if that makes sense. And I think Huff's teams are quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Huff's teams are quite the opposite in that regard. So I think there is a good chance that we're able to go out there and just out tough them. So I think I'm a lot more optimistic about that UNLV game than I am the Boise game. And then you obviously threw Arkansas State in. They're no slouch. That they won't be any slouch. We've had trouble with them over the years. So
the other interesting thing with Arkansas State will be, for them, it's their first game. So they will have been preparing for you guys longer, and they will also have game tape on you guys that you guys won't have of them.
It's interesting for sure. I've been saying for a while now, we could just be obviously a lot better than Arkansas State next year, but they are due for a win over us. They really are. They have played us close. I want to say at least 3 out of the last 4 times we've played them, they've played us a lot closer than the spread said or we expected it to be. So I think that we're due for a loss to Arkansas State. I could see us coming off that win over UNLV, or if we beat UNLV, sorry, I could see us coming off that win super high and getting let down severely
Okay.
in a tough game against Arkansas State. So
Yeah.
I do think they're both tough games. We play Arkansas State at home. We don't lose a lot at home. I don't
That's
expect to
true.
lose that game,
Yeah.
especially it just depends though. I think the situation will totally depend on if you're coming off of a win or a loss. If you're coming
Okay.
off a loss,
That's
they're
fair.
going to be hungry in that game. They're going to want to win it. I think they handle Arkansas State. For some reason I have a feeling if you're coming off a win against UNLV, that becomes a severe trap game, especially when you're having to look ahead to maybe your biggest brand name or your biggest brand name game of the season, which is Boise State the week
Yeah,
after
that's
that.
fair.
So I fear that a lot of our players might just be looking at that Arkansas State game as like just a filler in between the two big ones.
And Boise has Oregon the week before that. So presumably they're going to be coming off of a loss and really wanting to get right in that
Yeah,
game.
yeah, because you can't start 0-2
No.
or 0 or
And
1
that,
and
yeah.
1-2, whatever they'll be. Yeah,
That would that's their second game. So for Boise, you're at Oregon, then Memphis is week 2.
okay,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they can't start 0-2 at Boise's the
No.
standard of the G5.
Yeah.
We
That's
beat
fair.
them a few years ago when they had Genty and Taylon Green at the Liberty Bowl.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really good game. We were actually the last team to hold Ashton Genty under 100 yards. Fun fact.
Nice.
So,
I
yeah.
didn't know that. Then the schedule after that, though, those three look tough: UNLV, Arkansas State, Boise. Then it gets fortunate. You have your FCS game in UT Martin, and then your first two conference games, two teams who we expect to be closer to the bottom than the top at Charlotte and UAB at home. Now, I do think Charlotte will get. I think Tim Albin is a good coach who had a bad year one. He was very good at Ohio. You guys still, I expect you guys to roll Charlotte this year. I think the gulf in talent is just going to be too much. And then UAB, we'll see Mortensen in his first full year as the head coach. Maybe he was the right hire and will get them on the right path. I don't think it all happens year one, though. I think it'll take some time. That's not an overnight rebuild. So those first two conference games, I feel like you have to feel all right about.
We better beat UAB. That's all I'll say. We better beat UAB. This past year, we were 8-1 going into the UAB game at UAB. Silverfield completely drops the ball in that game, and we lose. I think we were like 25.5-point favorites. So,
oh my gosh, I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, maybe one of the worst losses in like football history. Like I'm serious. Like seriously, horrible loss. They had just fired their old coach. Who was their old coach? Trent Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer.
Yeah,
it's crazy. You guys lose to them, then you beat USF the next week. Like the biggest Jekyll and Hyde 2 weeks.
So weird. But I think it's gonna be so obviously worst case scenario you're gonna be 1-2 coming out of Arkansas State, Boise State. I guess you could say 0-3, but I think 1-2 is probably the worst case.
I think so. I think between UNLV, Arkansas State, you get one of them at least. Maybe both.
Absolutely. And then Boise, you'll be a decent underdog, I think. Probably a touchdown, maybe 10.5 points. So that would just be icing on the cake if they somehow won that. But
the spread in that game will largely be dictated by
UNLV
how the first two games go and how if Boise keeps it close against Oregon, that spread widens. If they get throttled, then the spread gets closer.
I agree. And then like you said, Charlotte, that's just a tough job. I mean, I'm sure they have a solid coach over there, but they're not. They don't have it.
I think Albin's a very good coach. I love the hire when they made it. He was good at Ohio. They struggled last year, and I think they're a team relative to the rest of the conference. They're catching up NIL and facility wise. Like they're in Charlotte. Jerry Richardson, the now deceased former owner of the Panthers, gave them a lot of money, but they're 5 to 10 years behind everybody else in the conference, so it's not going to happen overnight either.
Yeah, they're definitely in a good spot of the country to get some backing. But UT Martin, Charlotte, UAB, that's a chance where you're going to be able to rack up some wins, gain some confidence, presumably maybe coming off of being 1-2 in your first 3 games. So Yeah, I don't see any issues with those three. I don't see us having
You
any issues with those three
you'd
teams.
have to say dream scenario. If you're 5-1 after the first 6 games, you're golden.
Memphis
That's
is rocking
amazing.
in that
Yeah,
case, going into
yeah.
that Tulane game.
And I think it's
It's going to be
possible. I
solid.
think being 5-1 is possible
I
there.
think it's very, very, very
Yeah.
possible. Yeah, obviously, if you can get one off of Boise State or UNLV, and then you beat Arkansas State, yeah, and then you handle business in those other 3 games, we're going to be very, very pleased with 5-1 going into a very, very
Yeah.
tough stretch of the season, which is
Yeah.
basically the entire last 6 games, 7 games.
It is that. I was saying, I was looking like that last month of the year, month and a half was like, whoa, you don't have a week off, because looking at the schedule there, you guys have it tough relative to the conference. You
Every year.
don't play FAU, you don't play Rice, you don't play Tulsa. I mean, they're probably along with Charlotte, they're the bottom 4 team. Like, you don't get 3 of the 4 toughest, or 3 of the 4 bottom teams. That's tough. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would say projecting it out, this is probably the top 6 teams in the conference right here, or the other top. You play. I mean, yeah, you go
Yes,
and you play them all. You play all the best ones on the road. I mean, you play
you
at
do.
Navy, you play at South Florida, you play at Tulane. Those are, the
Yeah.
cream of the crop in the American over the
and,
last few years, and it's all on the
and
road.
I think ECU is going to be salty this year.
I do
think they're
too. I
gonna
do
be
too.
tough.
East
Yeah.
Carolina has a great head coach, in my opinion. They actually
Yeah.
they have our old defensive coordinator from last year now, Jordan Hankins, running the show.
Okay. Yeah.
He wasn't great.
And their O coordinator was the O coordinator at North Texas last year, who was the #1 offense in the country.
Okay.
I was kind
yeah.
of,
I did
I
not
was
know that.
surprised. So ECU's O coordinator last year is now the O coordinator at Ole Miss, and I was surprised Davis didn't go with Eric Morris to Oklahoma State. But my guess is, Morris being the primary play caller, Davis wanted to go somewhere where he was the guy calling the plays. So
Yeah.
instead of going to Oklahoma State, he went to ECU. And relative to the G6 teams, ECU has a very talented group of players on offense.
They do. They do. They were good last year. I expect
They
them to be
were.
good again this year.
Well,
I think I'm pretty sure they lost a good amount of players, but they're just
they
gonna
did.
recycle
Yeah.
it, fill them back in. So yeah, I don't see any. There's not an easy game left on the schedule past
No.
UAB. So
Both service, Army, Navy, both service academies will be tough. And that last game of the year, I think Casey Keeler is a very good coach. He's the only guy to win an FCS national title at 2 different schools. Temple's going to get better with him. Again, that was another, like we said about UAB before in Charlotte, you're not doing a rebuild overnight at Temple either. But in year 2 now, I expect Temple to keep making progress and get better. And especially that last game of the year, I think they'll be getting things right.
yeah, I mean, I think you're gonna have the talent advantage in most of these games. I think you're gonna have some advantages, obviously, but this is tough. I mean, this is tough to even look at for me. Every year, man, the AAC, they do this. They schedule very top heavy, so they want the best matchups for TV. So all the best teams are always gonna play each other, and it seems like every
I
year.
didn't realize that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they openly say that, but it's very clear
Yeah.
that we play a much tougher schedule than certain teams in the conference. So it always shakes out in a way to where, there's always a team in the AAC title game that didn't play anyone. Like North Texas last year, the one good team they played in or really good team they played in conference was South Florida, and they lost 63-30. So and they still ended up in the conference title game. We had to play Navy, South Florida, Tulane. We had to play everybody. So that's how it
and the
shakes
year
out every
before, and the year before that, when Army was really good, their conference schedule was pretty weak when they didn't lose any conference games.
So yeah, there's always one team in the American title game that earned it, and it seems like there's always one team that kind of just got there by their schedule. So
that's a great point, yeah. But looking at this preseason prediction, obviously this is conference games only, but Reed Napper is a guy that did this. I pulled this from him. He's a guy going to be on a future episode. Been talking to him about it, but you feel like in looking at 6-2, like you might look at this and say, well, 5th place in the conference isn't where we want to be. But after going through that schedule, 6-2 is a pretty good conference record.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no complaints there at all. We want to shoot for the stars. Obviously, we want to be in that conference
100%.
championship
And
game.
you look at the top 7 teams in that, from Navy down to Tulane, every one of those teams wants to be in the conference title, and to some degree, they might have expectations to be there.
Yeah, I mean, you could see this is a wide open conference this year. I do truly believe that. I think even
Absolutely.
down to
Yeah.
I think even Temple has some intriguing enough pieces to maybe sneak their way into to a conference title conversation, especially with the coach that they have. He's a winner. So I
He
mean,
is.
you have your most familiar roster in the conference is probably UTSA. I think they bring back a lot of guys, but
They
they
do.
they don't
I
play
had a Darian Starling is a really good UTSA guy. I had him on the show like a month and a half ago, and they return, but they return a lot, QB running back, but they're also in the position you guys were last year of, like, they're kind of getting sick of Traylor. It's like he's won a lot of games there, but he hasn't elevated them. They've not been where they want to be, so it's kind of time to come do this year.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if they're in as much of a position as we are to be grumpy about that. I don't know what their backing is down there or anything like that. But I mean, it's natural to get grumpy with a
Yeah,
coach whenever things get stagnant. So
and I also think they're to add to that for them, they were winning 9-10 games in Conference USA. They thought it would be the same thing moving over to the American. It's like, dude, that
tougher.
I get you want to win games, and for the casual fans that don't know it, but you got in a way tougher conference.
I mean, yeah, this is year in
Yeah.
and year out the best non-autonomous conference in the country, and it was
Yes,
last year. It was a very
it
good
was.
conference last year, outside of the power structure. And yeah,
The
I
last two
have
years, it's been the best. Last 2 years, it's been the toughest
yeah.
non-power. Yeah.
I think I mean, maybe we had a couple years off in between, but before then, I mean, even when UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati were in the conference year in and year out, it was always the best outside of the power structure. So
Yeah.
we're used to it. A lot of these other schools aren't, obviously, but I mean, I don't see any issues. These preseason rankings, especially in a conference like the American, where I'm pretty sure I read a stat the other day that said 72% of the first team all conference guys in the American that didn't exhaust their eligibility transferred.
Yep. I
So,
don't know if it was you or I saw that. I don't remember if it was you or somebody else retweeted that, but I did see the same post. Yes.
that's yeah, that makes it really hard to
Yep.
predict. I mean, I think if all goes well for South Florida and Memphis, those teams are the most talented teams in the conference. I think, at least in my opinion, I don't think it's even
Yeah.
really particularly
It's
close.
ECU would be up there with them, but yeah, I think that's probably right that those would be the two.
See,
Yeah.
now, yeah, that's good information to know. I never know from year to year like how much these programs are really
Yeah.
investing.
The one I don't know about is Tulane, because they lost so much. That roster's probably good on paper, but I don't know nearly as much about Tulane as I probably should.
I think they have good backing, so that yeah, there's definitely talent on that
Yeah.
roster, but they're I mean, I guess their coach was in a terrible situation at Southern Miss that
Yeah.
Huff came
They
in
were
and cleaned
rough.
up this past year.
And
But
and their QB was pretty good as a starter 2 years ago at Ball State, Caden Simonza.
yeah, I mean, I
So
expect
yeah.
Tulane to be solid, but they're gonna drop. They're gonna fall off. They're due
Agreed.
to fall off. They made 2 home run hires in Fritz and
Yeah.
Summerall. This hire doesn't scream home run to me at all.
I
So
agree. Yeah.
I'm not too optimistic about them.
Yeah.
Navy lost everything, pretty much. Not everything, but they lost their studs. I mean, they lost Alex Teska, Blake Horvath, their leading
Yeah.
pass catcher, their leading
Heidenreich. Yep.
rusher,
Eli
Heidenreich.
Heidenreich. Yeah.
They lost all of that. Now, I think what plays into a lot of this ranking right here is schedule. I think Navy and UTSA have very
Yeah.
favorable schedules, and I don't think Memphis and South Florida have been done any favors by their schedule within the conference. So I don't know off the top of my head what Navy and UTSA schedules are, but I remember looking at their schedules and saying, okay, it makes sense why they're the favorite because they have favorable schedules and Memphis does not.
Navy's first 3 conference games: FAU, UAB, Tulsa.
There you
So
go.
that's about as
That's your bottom
yeah.
three. Damn,
Then after that, you have UTSA, North Texas, Temple, Memphis. So they play out of the projected bottom 5 teams, Navy plays 4 of them. Rice
Yep.
is the only one they don't play.
Scheduling's a big thing. Like I said in the American, it's very hit or miss. Memphis never seems to get that easy schedule ever.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't want it any other way. I want to watch entertaining football every week.
You.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. So we'll get to our kind of final. We're rounding in on our hour here. If you were looking, right now, putting out a projection, we always do a floor and a ceiling. So best case scenario, ceiling. What do you think that is for Memphis this year?
Ceiling. I have our ceiling at 10-2.
That's also what I picked. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
that's the seal. That's where I put our ceiling at.
Yeah.
I don't see you escaping the schedule without 2 losses. I just don't. I mean, as good as you could possibly be, you're playing on the road. You're playing 5 very, very, very tough road games, in my opinion. You go to Tulane, you go to South Florida, you go to Boise State, you go to UNLV, and you go to Navy. That's tough. That's tough. I don't see you getting out of that stretch without 2 losses.
Fair.
So that's my ceiling, 10-2. Absolutely.
And what's the floor, you think? I'll say while you're for me, I'm usually really low on the floors because I conceptualize it as the floor usually involves your starting QB getting hurt. But I'm actually higher on Memphis in this case because I think you have 2 QBs that would be serviceable starters. So I think the absolute bottom you go is 7-5.
That was my first thought. I was stuck in between 6-6 and 7-5.
Fair. Yeah.
I would say 7-5.
That schedule is a bear. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I made a tweet about it the other day about how tough the schedule is, and they were like, there's no Power 5 teams on it. I was like, we've had schedules where we played bottom dweller Power 5 teams, and it's not even close to what we're about to endure.
and that's like we were talking about Navy schedule. Yeah, they play Notre Dame, but look at all the conference games they have too. So
I mean, we're in a position
just because you have just having a Power 4 game doesn't make it overall tough. You got to look at the whole breadth of 12 games.
Yeah, I mean, we played Arkansas last year at home, and our other 2 non-conference games or other 3 were like at Georgia State, at Troy. Like, that's an easier schedule, in my opinion, than what we're about to do. And
Troy ended up being a very good.
Yeah, and we made them look silly. They didn't even score a touchdown against us. But I mean, it's tougher to me than going to play a game at a weak Power 5 school or even any Power 5 school. It's what we're doing is a lot more difficult, in my opinion.
Yeah. So the last 2 questions I always ask are coaching related ones. So I'll put this up like as just a guide team wise. Which coach in the American do you think is on the hottest seat going into this season?
Oh man, that's tough. We have so many new ones.
Exactly. I would probably say Jeff Traylor, just because there's only 2 coaches in the conference that have been at their school more than 4 years. Him and Munkin, and Munkin is the safest coach in the conference.
Yeah, I would honestly be lying to you if I had a good answer for this. I have no. You kind of threw me off with this one. I don't know.
I think the other one, other than Traylor, the other one I might say Will Hall. Even though he's in his first year, Tulane will not give him a grace period. They expect to continue what Fritz and Summerall did. If he has 2 bad years, it might be gone. Yeah, because it'll be you were bad at Southern Miss, you're bad here, hit the road.
He's not gonna get a big leash. Like I would say, even if Huff went like 6-6 this year, we'd be cool over here. Because we know he's capable of building something. But yeah, with a guy like Will Hall, like I think USF will give Heartline some time. I think they have a low floor. USF has a low floor, in my opinion. Very low floor.
I agree.
With Heartline as a first-time head coach. High ceiling, but low floor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess if I had to give an answer, I don't think UTSA is going to fire Traylor. So I think Will Hall might actually be the closest to the hot seat. Crazy enough, but yeah.
And then the last question I always ask is, which coach in the conference do you think, with 1 or 2 really good seasons, could vault and get a Power 4 job? And honestly, I think Charles Huff and Harrell are probably the 2 answers there.
Yeah. I think it's undoubtedly Charles Huff. From what I've heard, if he has a good year this year, we'd be lucky to get a year 2 out of him. So,
Could be. And I think
um,
for him, a place where the state he's from, where he has a history, that job at Maryland could be open. Mike Loxley could get fired. Huff would be a prime candidate for the Maryland job, I think, if it opens.
yeah, I've actually heard very real smoke about that over the last couple weeks around
Oh,
the
that's good
Memphis
to know.
program.
Okay. Yeah.
That yeah, he's if he has a good year this year, Maryland's going to pull the trigger and they're probably going to hire him. So
I wouldn't shock me. Yeah.
yeah, I've heard some not so great things on our behalf, but I mean, obviously, if we have a good year, I'll be happy either way. So
absolutely, yeah. But Christopher, I want to thank you for being here. Again, everybody out there, you can follow him at Memphis Country on X, Instagram, wherever, and I'll take all of that. But it was great to talk Memphis. I'm certainly glad I could have you. This was a fantastic episode, fun team, and thanks everybody out there for watching. I appreciate it.
absolutely, man. Appreciate you having me. Love talking Tigers all the time. Love dropping some knowledge on people about Memphis. So yeah, appreciate you, obviously.
Thank you.